I guess Avatar: The Way of Water is just a slang term now for diarrhea flows like a river. Avater: The Way of Water released this past weekend in 2022 and is directed by the almighty and all-knowing James Cameron, who has also directed such films like Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, True Lies, Titanic, and the original Avatar film. And apparently like 10 other Avatar sequels, all with a running cut now of like 9 hours, or like an original cut time of 9 hours, supposedly. And this film is starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, Cliff Curtis, Joel David Moore, CCH Pounder, Eddie Falco, Jermaine Clement, and Kate Winslet. It's been over a decade since the events of the original Avatar film, and Jake Sully is now the leader of his clan, and everything seems to be going all hunky-dory. But one of the many plot holes that this movie has is that these idiot Na'vi did not prepare for any repercussions for the humans returning to Pandora to take over the planet again. So now it's been a year of fighting back and forth between humans and the Na'vi, and the humans are gunning and out hunting for Jake Sully and his family. So he thinks that in order to protect his clan, the best thing to do is to leave the clan and go live with the water people. Yeah, I will say I watched this thing last night, and initially I'm hypnotized, and I'm just enthralled with everything that I'm seeing on screen, but then as you get home and you start thinking about the plot and the choices that these characters make all throughout the film, there's just so many holes. How can one character keep making a dumb decision after a dumb decision after a dumb decision and still make it out alive? Oh, by the way, I am going to be talking about spoilers for this movie because there's just a lot to talk about here that, you know, I can't if I'm not talking spoilers. So you've been warned, go watch the movie, then come watch this review, and we'll talk about hopefully all the things that you noticed that I noticed too. Let me start off by saying the positives because I feel like this review is going to be very similar to the original Avatar review that I did this past week, where I was kind of just picking it apart and bashing it, but it's still an enjoyable movie and an enjoyable time. This movie is still an enjoyable movie and an enjoyable time, and a lot of aspects are actually better than the original Avatar. This visual effects are out of this world. They are mind-blowing. The underwater sequences alone get this film into my top 10 favorite films of 2022 because they're unmatched. They have this huge CGI tank, all of these animals and whales and fish floating around. They look real, even though they definitely are not. And it's all from the lighting. The lighting effects in this film are breathtaking. It's the refracting of the light on the water and how it reflects off of the reefs and off the animals and off of the Na'vi who are swimming around. That's like the cherry on top of just perfection and artistry on screen. The visual effects in here are stunning, and I would say watch this movie just for that piece alone. But for any of you out there that have been subbed to my channel for a while, you know that my most important thing when it comes to a movie is its story, is its plot, and if that is okay, then everything else follows. This story, for having it being worked on for over a decade, and actually even longer than that, just with original concepts, is still very thin. It is more emotional, I'll give it that. There's a lot more emotional moments in here. Connectedness between people and Na'vi. Connectiveness between Na'vi and animals. Like, this movie is basically like Free Whale meets Whale Wars meets Smurfs. And there are several sequences in here that really hit you hard emotionally in the heart, and just seeing the torturing of certain animals on screen. It's heartbreaking. I hate it. It's almost bad as me watching a dog get hurt on screen, like an actual physical dog. Because the CGI in here is so perfect and so real, I feel like these are actual animals and I'm connected to them, and I feel bad when something bad happens to them. But in terms of like driving plot and driving coincidences and driving conclusion, there are many things in here that are just like, oh, this happened for reasons. We have the final battle scene between the Na'vi and the people on the cruiser, the Aussie guys, who are freaking annoying as hell. So the battle starts off and all of them are there, and then, like, the eclipse happens and it's all nighttime, and then it's just the Sullys. Like, the Sullys are the only ones on the boat. What happened to the rest of the clan? Did they just go back? They were done? Probably could have saved a lot of things. I love that one of the Sully children keep getting attached to the railing. They even call it out in this movie. He's like, I can't believe I got attached to the railing again. Because plot and convenience, and we need things to happen. There's also this character in the movie called Spider, who is this human boy who was born on Pandora of the scientists who stayed behind. So he's kind of like a Tarzan character. He's an ape baby, I think is what they called him. I'm not sure. But apparently he's also the former Colonel Stephen Lang's biological son. So he's captured, and then he helps them find the Na'vi and helps them find, like, all of the animals to torture them. So at the end of the movie, when he's okay and he goes back to the Sully clan's like, yeah, come here. Instead of like, hey, you betrayed us, you son of a bitch. Get the fuck out of here. I am almost 100% certain that this was a story aspect that was completely missed by Cameron, who was focusing on all the visual effects. And not only that, I'm questioning why Spider would even want to come back to the Sullys, because he goes and helps them get back onto the ship to save the children, and he's left alone to go searching around and could very easily drown and get captured and stuck in some hallways in the ship. And all the Sullys, they find their family and they get out. They leave. And they leave Spider there. No one was asking about him. No one cared. Just coincidentally, he survived and caught up with them, and he was totally okay with it. What? I'm also wondering, the choice to leave your forest clan to join the water clan, the thought behind that is, well, if I leave the forest clan, they'll be safe, and we'll go to the water clan because no one's going to go out there. No one's going to reach us there. So if Jake Sully and his family leave, the forest clan are just going to be happily ever after there in the forest? Like, the humans are not going to keep continuing to destroy the forest, and they'll be just fine. They'll live in peace and harmony, and we won't need to have another Avatar film? Really? I feel like Avatar 3 is going to start with the forest people being completely wiped out because of the stupid-ass decision that Jake Sully made. Jake Sully is an idiot. He's a terrible character in this movie. He makes the wrong decision almost every single freaking time. But because he's the main character from the first one, we have to go along with it. There are a lot of aspects and story elements of this movie that needed a lot more work, and if these things were missed on a film that's been worked on for over a decade, I am worried about what's going to happen with these other Avatar sequels that are coming out. Supposedly, I mean, that's the hope. They've already shot Avatar 3, and I think they're starting to shoot Avatar 4 and Avatar 5. I guess it kind of depends on the box office of this movie. I think this movie needs to be like the 6th highest grossing film of all time just to break even. So why a studio would agree to do that with those high of stakes, I have no idea. But I guess Cameron just walks around and is like, I'm James Cameron, and you're gonna do this, bitch. I will say, though, they got rid of unobtainium, which was one of the dumbest things I have ever heard of before in my life in film from the first one. So it's not about unobtainium anymore. It's about colonizing and terraforming the planet of Pandora so that people from Earth can come over and live on Pandora. And then also get the magic whale goo that apparently stops aging. I don't know, it was one line in the movie and we never talked about it since. But yeah, like, hey, this is the real stuff here, I tell you. One of these little jars goes for $80 million. Why that currency still exists here on this foreign planet, I don't know, but it stops the aging, brother. However, just like I said before with the original Avatar film, this is a popcorn flick, and if you turn your brain off and not focus on the story and start picking it apart, you just kind of go along with it, and you're just hypnotized by the amazing CGI that you're seeing on screen, you'll enjoy it. You'll have a good time. This is a very slow film. It actually takes a very long time to get going and to have energy behind it. But once we get to the young Sully children learning about the water and making relationships with these animal creatures from the deep, that's when it gets beautiful. That's when it gets great. And that's when I'm enthralled. So if you can get by, you know, like an hour and a half of this movie, yeah, you'll be fine. Wow, that's a big chore now that I'm talking about it, but still, it's amazing. And if you sit back and think just how much CGI and artistry is happening in every single scene in this film, it's actually jaw-dropping. So I guess go see it just to support all of the artists, the millions of artists that have worked on this movie, because they've worked long and hard. Let's support them just a little bit. I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
So guys, have you seen Avatar, The Way of Water? What did you think about it? Which one do you like more? Do you like the original or do you like the sequel? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.